Press 2 for representative.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Press 2 for Representative. Happy to be with you all. My name is Parker Andrus. I am joined with Ian Blotter. We are from a company called TELE-NET, which is an outsourcing customer service provider. And today we are joined with special guest Robert LaMacchia. Let's hear it for Rob. Good to have you with us today, Robert. Rob, can I call you Rob? Is that all right?
Yeah, you can call me Rob. That works well.
Appreciate that. Wonderful. Very much looking forward to speaking with you today about something that I know is very near and dear to your heart, and that is customer experience, customer service, whatever you want to call it. But let's get into it. First off, Rob, we'd love to hear more about you. Tell us about what you're doing. I believe you're with Aurora Tech right now. We'd love to hear more about what Aurora Tech does, and why don't you take the mic?
Sure. So thanks, Ian and Parker, for having me on. I am an avid listener of your podcast, and so it's a treat for me to be here.
Appreciate that.
For me, I work at a company called Aurora Tech, and what we do is wildfire detection and monitoring from space. And a big component of my day-to-day job is the customer service or customer experience. And really, I've had my whole career on the sales side, and I think very much over the last 15 years, what I've realized is that everything up to the sales, the easy part. It's when you get to sales when the problem starts. And that's the customer success part that we're talking about here, customer experience. And so, the way I look at that is once they're using the service, you have a commitment to them to provide and deliver on something, some sort of promise, right? And so whether they have issues or they need other services or have questions, someone has to be there for them. And so I've always looked at my role in the sales world as part of that, figuring out how to work on the success part of the contract. So it's a little bit about me and my background and where I come from.
It's great to talk to you about customer service in your industry. Being a true trailblazer, fighting fires with sort of this industry just makes me think. Customer service is really like a fire in itself, right? Where it can spread and become a disaster. Everybody hears about it, and it can destroy anything in its path. But when it's controlled and used the correct way, it's nice to be around. You want to sit by a fire, for the rest of the night. So,
how long did it take you to write that one, Ian? That was well thought through.
Ian is as you know, again, Rob, listening to our podcast, Ian comes up with some incredible analogies, and that one is no exception. That was
well, customer service is everything in our life, is everything to us. I mean, we see it in every aspect of our lives, but like what we've talked about in previous podcasts, it's forgotten or kind of left on the side. People don't really think about customer service when they're thinking about value or success. They're usually just thinking about dollars, I think.
Yeah, and so maybe I can give an example of that too. I mean, what we the way that we look at it, Aurora Tech is obviously a contract to sign, and then they're using a service. But then, what do you deploy after that, right? And so we have a dedicated customer success teams, and we work with folks like you guys at TELE-NET to be able to ensure that the customer is well taken care of while they're in the field or operational. And so I think the customer success piece of it is the heartbeat of the business or the fire. Yes, you want to you don't want it to turn into a wildfire. You want it to be a really nice bonfire with maybe some marshmallows, right? That's the goal.
Exactly.
Yeah, you said something interesting in your introduction, Rob, about how once you have the sale, that's when the problem starts. And yeah, I mean, the best kind of customer isn't a first-time customer; it's a repeat customer. And if you are not providing the experience and the service that customer is expecting and hoping for from the get-go, then the chances of you capturing that sale again are just going to plummet. So maybe you can share a little bit about your experience, whether it be with Aurora Tech or with another company, on how you've helped make sure that customers feel valued and are having a good experience, and are able to retain that trust that they had when they made that first sale.
I think it's so the day you sign a contract or have a new customer is the day you start to lose them, right? And so you have to prove your value over the course of that, whether it's a year or longer. And so for us, how do you do that? Well, there's a couple ways. One, you can have quarterly business reviews, right? And so you can talk about opportunities, challenge, et cetera, to go through the business relationship. But oftentimes that's a formality, and most folks do that. And that doesn't give everyone the warm fuzzies. You come in a room and you sit there and talk through a few things, and ultimately that almost feels like another version of a sales tool, right? And so what is it that makes it a customer? What does it makes a customer come back and give you those good feelings about the relationship? And I think for us, what we do, and really what I've thought of over my career, is that it's all about those phone calls. So when you see something of value, whether it's in this industry or something that you've learned from the customer or something that you think would be beneficial to them, you send it to them. You share a note. Hey, John, I saw this article about a new restaurant in your area. Wanted to share it. Have you been there? If not, next time I'm in town, let's go. So you got to develop those relationships with the customer. And then also, it's not one thing that I see is that a lot of folks fall into the bucket of falling in love with one stakeholder at a company. And we live in a kind of a dynamic world where oftentimes that changes, and if you have one stakeholder, then it's you're all in on that person, and when they leave or if they move or take another job, you're in a lot of trouble. So for us, the way we look at it is to build out the organizational chart of folks at that company that we need to be touching, whether it's every week or on some of those QBRs, but we need to build relationships with them, so when that time comes for some sort of renewal, you're not relying on one person. You have an extensive network there at the company that's using your product, that believes in what you do and wants to continue that relationship. So there's the QBRs and some of the more formal business arrangements that you have to nail and get right. But also it's them coming to you a question at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. It's how quickly you respond. It doesn't mean you have to get to it the same day, but it's, hey, see your question. I'm going to ping the team. We'll have an answer to you next morning or the next couple days. And that's really where I think these opportunities are. One is building that relationship, getting to know the folks personally, and understanding the org chart at a much more broad level than just working directly with a point of contact. And that's the sale within the sale.
Yeah, so the term we use for that, the Japanese word of the day, it's the word of the day at our company every day, is omotenashi, which is just going that extra mile to take care of the customer. And yeah, like the suggestion you said of, hey, have you heard of this restaurant in your area or whatever? Those little things like that are so memorable because they're out of the routine, which is really sad that extra mile and the extra effort to be kind and develop a relationship is viewed as a rarity, I guess, right? Um, and so, yeah, I really, really like that. Appreciate that.
It's interesting. I don't know if you have anything to add. I don't want to cut you off, Rob, but it's interesting, as we talk about this and how much work it goes into ensuring that, a customer feels the value, going the extra mile. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to sort of provide the value for good customer service. But on the flip side, I mean, how easy is it to just ruin a relationship, I guess, with customer
Well,
service?
it's very likely it's the same is what is Warren Buffett says, it takes 20 years to build a reputation, 5 minutes to destroy it. And so
Right.
that's where you're doing those things at night when they call, you're answering those, or you're involved in helping get the issues resolved. I've never had an experience in my career where
Mhm.
where there was an issue, whether it's a product or a service or whatever it happens to be, that everyone's had an issue. If you buy something, you're going to have a problem with it, right? It's very likely the case. And so people understand that. But people don't always get right on our side of the aisle is, how do you respond to that? And so when a fire comes up, to use Ian's pun,
Yep.
you don't let it turn into a wildfire, and you're responding. So, like Warren Buffett said, it takes 5 minutes to ruin that. So if you miss a day or two in a response, that's when you really lose the customer to somebody else, because you can rest assured somebody else is trying to talk to them too. And if you're not the one that's responding and quickly solving those problems when they come up, or challenges, then you're going to lose them pretty quickly. And that's when it turns into something bigger. It's when they don't believe they can rely on you anymore, is when it turns into
Mhm.
something else.
Yeah. And it's great to hear, how you care about that, just knowing, what you and your company does, working with communities in emergency services where, you know, good, trust in what your technology provides is pretty key to a lot of
Yeah.
people's, livelihood.
Yeah, definitely. It is. And I guess so. I have a question for you, and it's probably the opposite, because you have two customers you're serving, right? In this
Right.
world where you have a customer who has a contract with you,
Yeah.
and then you have someone on the other side of the phone who's expecting that service,
Yep.
which probably adds another element to this customer experience. So you're serving two customers. What's the challenges that you guys see?
Yeah, I mean it's a really good question, and that's kind of what our founders set out to accomplish when creating this company. Is that he's a Japanese national, moved to the U.S. for a little bit, and just noticed the huge disparity in the level of customer service between Japan and the U.S. The U.S. was way down here, um, and he would walk into the store and just be completely ignored. Nobody would help him, things like that. On the phone, people were rude. You could tell that they didn't want to be on the phone with him. Um, Whereas in Japan, you walk into a convenience store and you're immediately acknowledged by the employee, and they'll do anything for you to make sure that you're having a good experience. And so there's a lot of training that needs to take place with our employees that like, hey, we have to have this mentality of, yes, we have two customers. So of course you are representing the company that has contracted with us and they are our customer. And so that relationship is so key, but it starts on the front lines with their customers. And so if we're treating their customers right and they have that mentality of serving that customer and really embracing the ideology that they're a part of our true customers company, then we're able to make some high quality service, and provide some great opportunities for two customers to be completely happy and excited about their experience that they're having, um, with both us. Yeah, and we get it's double the pleasure, double the fun, right? The spearmint gum motto, right? So that's how I view it. Anything to you or anything from you, Ian, that you would add?
Yeah, I mean, you could think of it as a battle between customer and client, but really it's just a balance that we've have to find strategically, training and empowering the agents to be able to go the extra mile and support the customer for the client as best as that we can. And you always hear stories about, um, you know, situations with customer service reps saying like, "I'm sorry, I can't do anything. This is company policy," and it creates, an outrage. A customer is, super upset that they're being treated a certain way, and so it is tough for agents, especially on those calls when they're trying to follow company guidelines and policies, but they're also trying to make sure that the customer is happy and being heard, being valued. So it's a tightrope that we walk, that we try to just always make sure that we're empowering the agents, making sure that they are empathetic and active listening and always trying to do what they can.
So, just a quick follow up to that. You mentioned that there's company policy. Does every customer that you work with have a different company policy, or do those stay pretty consistent?
Yeah, I mean it's very situational. Some companies are much more liberal with what the agents are allowed to do to rectify a situation, or like provide, hey, well, I can offer you this for your troubles or whatnot. Some companies are very, very firm, like, hey, sorry, unfortunately, this is the situation. And so we work with our agents to make sure that they understand that empathy is so key, regardless of what our policies are of the companies that we work with. Um, but if we have that empathetic tone and just reaction to the situation, then the customer eventually is much more understanding. But yeah, it varies from customer to customer as to what they're able to provide, and that's why we try and empower, as Ian said, our agents to feel like they're a part of the company that they're represented. Yes, they're a part of TELE-NET, but at TELE-NET we're also working to be true, solid representation of our clients as well to these customers.
That's why we try and share on these podcasts, wins and loses, losses, or bad experiences with customer service. Because when we share these wins in customer service, we're trying to share that um, what a good customer service rep can do for a brand and for a company. Because um, when you hear the bad experiences, what can happen, it creates viral outrage. And so, of course, the client's looking at cost efficiency, brand consistency, but when we tell them, the value when a customer service rep just does something for the customer on the phone, that it can, like we've talked about repeated customers a little bit briefly in the beginning of this podcast. that's more value than a new customer, is having somebody come back consistently. And so I think that's just super key.
Yeah, I think as well, everybody kind of expects, I think everybody in the back of their mind, they're hoping that they won't have a memorable experience, because when you only remember customer service experience if it's either really, really good or really, really bad. And most people hope that they expect that nothing will happen right in the middle, right? But our goal at TELE-NET, and what we kind of preach to our employees, as we want to make it memorable in the best way possible. Like, hey, this person was extremely nice, very personable. I really enjoyed speaking with that person. And that becomes the standard. We're trying to set that new standard of quality of experience for every single customer that our agents speak with. So, go ahead, Ian.
On that, should we get into our customer win of the week?
I'd never thought you'd ask. I would love to get into that. Why don't we start off with the win? Rob, word on the street is that you have a win prepared for us. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, and it dovetails off of what you just mentioned there about you either remember the really good or the really bad. And last week, my wife, her phone just decided not to turn back on, and so she had an old phone as we wait to get the new iPhone, because who doesn't need the new iPhone when it comes out in September? And why would an iPhone go down sometime right before that? Not a conspiracy corner here, but maybe it should be.
That is a mystery.
So we called our cell phone provider using their customer service and said we're having issues transferring the number from her phone that isn't working to an older phone to get us by. And we talked to one person who pretty quickly said, not the right guy to speak to for this, but I'll get you over to the right division. The transfer, which I was worried would take 30 minutes on sitting on hold,
Been there.
took about 30 seconds. And soon I was speaking to a lovely woman who was very willing to help. And about 5 to 10 minutes later, she asked me to do all these things that I couldn't do. And so I had to bring my wife in, and 2 minutes later, they had it figured out. And so it was a great experience working with customer service. And it was a really memorable experience, because we go into those and I thought, this is just going to take forever. Nothing's going to happen. Or I'm ready to get in the car with my 2 kids and listen to them cry as we go all the way down to the store to get this resolved. So that was a great customer success win for us.
That's awesome. Very, very good. And again, it's not huge things. It's really simple things that go a long way. A quick transfer, for whatever reason, yeah, our expectations are it's going to take forever, but because it didn't, that's absolutely a win. Great experience. Thanks, Rob. So I had the fail today, and we seem to be finding a lot of fails within the airline industry. Today is no exception. Unfortunately, we're going to have another story from United that I came across just a couple of weeks ago. In summary, a United Airlines customer named Dan Smoker lost $17,000 after calling what he thought was the airline's customer service to rebook a canceled family trip. The agent that he originally spoke to, David, he originally was speaking with United customer service. He was put on hold. According to United, when he was put on hold, the call ended. And I guess some kind of scam call center or whatnot ended up intercepting the call. And this new agent that he was speaking with, David, charged his card for a rebooking that sent a suspicious refund email from a non-United domain. United's logs show only a brief call suggesting that it was a scam via their system. And Smoker, as of the article that I read, was awaiting a credit card fraudulent claim decision while United investigates and promises a fair resolution. So in their defense, United is doing their part to try and resolve the situation and make things right with Dan. But man, that is pretty scary if you're having customer service calls while you're giving credit card information intercepted.
It makes you question
not
wanting to book.
No kidding. That would be, I mean, 17K is not just, man, at least for me, that's not pennies. So
no, it's 17K. Yeah, it's not.
I probably wouldn't even notice.
It's a lot of pennies. Very good. Well, Rob, we really appreciate your time. Been phenomenal to hear about your experience. Love the insight that you've had. You gave some great knowledge on the importance of customer service. Really want to thank you. And of course, if you ever need customer service, let us know. TELE-NET is always standing ready and waiting to help out in any way. But for TELE-NET, this has been Press 2 for Representative. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
You
Thanks, Rob.
guys. Thank you.